Welcome to Briterion Bollection, bitches. Um, I'm your host, Kevin. This is my boy, Kris.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. See you rocking a jersey, that USA jersey?
Deutschland.
Of Deutschland.
3 stars. Should be 4.
I got the Mexico white with maroon squigglies. So I didn't realize we'd have a soccer match on this episode.
How many stars are there on that Mexico jersey? I don't see one.
Yeah, well,
Maybe this time around. Maybe this time.
see my height theory. Mexicans are too short. You need height. I
I mean, they're pretty much all the same size nowadays. I don't know.
don't know, bro. Um,
Gotta be at home though. World Cup's gonna be at home for them, so that'll be a big advantage. Azteca, people don't
we'll see.
Azteca alive.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Maybe after when we're done with this episode, we can exchange jerseys.
I don't have my Under Armour jersey on.
It's
My
okay.
breastplate that keeps my heart rate and my those
Yeah,
those bras that the guys
yeah.
I don't know why they
Those
can't make
bros.
more man.
Yeah, yeah. It's like an Apple Watch for your tits, for your man boobs.
Exactly. This reminds me of, what was it, Brandy Chastain with
Yeah,
the bra for
she had that sports bra. Yeah,
everybody's like, we gotta be like Brandy, we gotta get these bras too, but we're gonna put devices in them so we'll look cool. But
yeah. That's
it
just
didn't work.
ridiculous.
Yes it is.
Yeah, and it has to be black too, like just to show up more on their skin. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
After the game, take the thing off. What? You can let your
Yeah,
breasts go flying around in the wind. It's okay. The game's over. Nobody wants to see your breast bra,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So this is a special edition, another one of our Briterion guilties, Briterion guilty pleasures. Which I may have a.
Guilty for watching it. I
I'm
just
sure you did.
my shame.
Yeah. So I might have this in just another section. It might be its own show, honestly. Criterion Guilty Pleasures.
Mhm.
So I told you to watch this film because it's one of my favorite guilty pleasures, and it's a little film by the name of Domestic Disturbance, starring John Travolta and Vince Vaughn, 2001. Mother effer, staying alive. Um, yeah, so I remember. So this movie came out in November 2001. So just a few months after 9/11, you know. Um, and we were reeling from that tragic loss of 9/11. And then this movie comes out and it didn't really help the situation. um,
It was cathartic for people to see justice,
yeah,
extreme
vigilante justice,
justice, Steven Seagal type justice.
anti-hero justice.
Yeah, people needed to get out and see an action film of
I mean, I guess you could be right because
kind of an action film.
I think they wanted to see the American take down an Arab. And I think Vince Vaughn, he's like part Arabic or something like that.
Oh, there
So
you go.
it's kind of funny. They wanted to see the Italian stallion take down the Arab guy. Um, yeah. Yeah.
Barbarita, what was his name? Barbarino or whatever.
Oh, Barbarino. Yeah. Vinny Barbarino. Yeah, exactly.
Good American boy.
Yep. Italian American.
In American. Sorry, yes. All Americans are great immigrants to our country.
Yeah. Yeah,
First
exactly.
generation, you're probably first generation.
Yep.
Yep. So we go. That's why we got the jerseys.
Yeah, got the jerseys on. Repping the soccer. Yeah, I mean, I guess this movie cost 75 million to make. It's like, why the hell did this movie cost 75 million to make?
Don't. Maybe it was the really The fire
The
scene.
boats, the nice boats that they made.
Sure, those were loaned or borrowed from somebody.
Yeah,
Might have been the
or maybe it was just Travolta. Travolta probably got like 70 of that
yeah,
in his salary, and it only made back 54 million. So this is a bomb. This is a certified bomb.
yeah. Was certified on Rotten Tomatoes like 33% or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's something horrible. Well, Double D, Domestic Disturbance. Yeah, but this is like when studios were throwing money willy nilly. They're just throwing out money like it was going out of style. And
Wasn't the
you know,
golden age.
yeah, you'll never see shit like this again. Like even like big budget movies are like 75 million is like I mean the the ironic thing is like there's a lot more like a lot of every movie it costs like 100 million to make nowadays, which used to be unheard of. Like Titanic was like the first $100 million movie, like budget wise, but now every movie costs 100 million to make, but they won't let you get over that. You know what I'm saying? It's like 100 million, and that's it. No more, no less. So it's just kind
They
of
have
funny.
all the movie logo. Like they have 5 different studios doing a
Yeah,
movie because
yeah, yeah, exactly.
need a little more money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember in the on the Flow movie, the cat movie,
Mm,
Flow.
yeah,
There was like 5 million studios in this. I was like, what the hell? It was like one studio, another studio, another studio. It was like 10 minutes of just studios popping up.
it was a great movie. It was a great
Yeah,
movie.
great movie.
Yeah,
Well, me and
they knew it was money. They knew it was gold when they saw it.
yeah,
The idea, or yeah,
yeah, me and Aileen might talk about that someday. Um, Not with you. So yeah, this came out November 2001. So that was my senior year in high school, and I think I wanted to watch this just because it looked cheesy and it had Travolta in it, and I love Travolta. I mean, he's obviously the man. Like we said, he was in Welcome Back, Kotter, and he was in some Brian De Palma films. He was in Carrie. I think Carrie was actually his first movie, um, and then he was in the movie Blowout from De Palma, which really made Tarantino a fan. Like Tarantino, that's the movie that made him want to put him in Pulp Fiction, really, And then Pulp Fiction, well, he obviously after the De Palma movies, he became a superstar with Saturday Night Fever and Grease. That was a real, combo that made him a star all over the world.
hmm
And then he fell off after that, and he did some movies that bombed at the time, but they're kind of like cult classics now, like Urban Cowboy,
hmm
Perfect with Jamie Lee Curtis, that aerobic scene, everybody fucking loves that. um, and then he was, I know you love that. And then he does Look Who's Talking, which I actually like those movies. I thought they were funny.
hilarious.
Yeah, they weren't high art, but they were funny. But it's funny how he worked with Bruce Willis in those, because Bruce Willis does the baby, right? He worked with him in that before he did Pulp Fiction. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of funny.
This was the dad in that one, right? No,
No,
he
Bruce
was.
Willis was
It was.
doesn't Bruce.
Oh,
No, Travolta. I mean, Travolta was. Oh, okay, yeah.
okay.
Well,
Totally
that's funny.
person.
Well, they're all
Podcast. You can erase that part and just go back to the Bruce Willis.
okay.
They were
Uh,
together for
yeah,
Look Who's Talking, and then
yeah,
back together.
yeah.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Um. Anyways, yeah, I like those movies. I thought they were funny, But people looked at it like his career was in the toilet at that point.
Was he in?
Um. What?
Was he in Michael?
Yeah, but that was later. That was after Pulp Fiction. That was horrible. Yeah, obviously. Well, that's what I was gonna say.
One bad.
So like, he was doing Look Who's Talking, and people were like, "This guy's career's in the toilet." But then Tarantino, he resurrected him with Pulp Fiction. Because he was like, "Oh, I know the type of dude this guy is. I know his '70s work. This guy can kill it if you give him the right character. The right part." And then after that, he goes on a good run. He went on a little good run. He did Get Shorty. He did John Woo, Broken Arrow. and he did another John Woo movie, which is the masterpiece simply known as Face Off with Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Yes, which we'll talk about sometime ASAP because I fucking love that movie. And then here's the part where he fell off again, where he started doing all these crappy ass fucking movies. But they were still kind of hits, but they were still crappy. Like Michael, Phenomenon, She's So Lovely, Mad City,
That's it.
White Man's Burden, Primary Colors, Civil Action, General's Daughter. He did all these fucking horrible movies. And then he did the ultimate bomb in 2000, which is Battlefield Earth. Um, his passion project for his religion, for his Scientology lord. What's his name? Who's the guy who did Scientology?
Oh, Tom Cruise?
No, the founder of Scientology. What's his name?
No idea.
Well, okay. Well, he that's why he made Battlefield Earth, because it was based on some Scientology shit. But that was a bomb, obviously. And that ruined his career for like a year. It was horrible. But then he actually bounced back somewhat in the summer 2001 with the movie Swordfish, which was him, Halle Berry, and Hugh Jackman, which actually didn't make that much money, but it made a profit. You know, it was over $150 million, so it was respectable. You know, and then so that was summer 2001. So just a few months later, November, he comes out with this guilty pleasure piece of crap known as Domestic Disturbance, and I think I saw it like on pay-per-view a few months later or something like that. Came out pretty quickly on pay-per-view. I remember just laughing my ass off watching it. I was like, "Oh, they're showing this? Okay, I'll peep it." You know, got some pizza, and then I'm watching it. I'm like, "This is fucking horrible. It's fucking ridiculous." Acting was just horrible. Dialogue was ridiculous. Even though the cast is like kind of good. I mean, Travolta, Terry Polo, Vince Von Doom, um, and a small part by your boy Buscemi.
Yes.
No, you love the guy. So it was like, yeah, it was like a Pulp Fiction reunion here too with Travolta and Buscemi. You know, uh, do you know? Do you remember the part that Buscemi has in Pulp Fiction or no? You don't remember, right?
Drawing blanks on that.
Yeah, he has a small part. It's not a big part. It's basically a cameo. So he's the waiter when Travolta and Uma Thurman are at the diner. When they're at the '50s diner, he's their waiter, and he looks like Buddy Holly or whatever. And it's cool. The dialogue's really cool there. I love the dialogue that Travolta wrote there, because he's like, "How about you, Peggy Sue? What do you want?" It's a really cool scene. Um, so let's do the wiki.
They
Yeah,
didn't spend any money on a writer, apparently.
yeah, no.
They took the copy from whoever sent it to them in the mail.
Yeah, and it was like, all right, let's make it.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They were just making shit. This is when I really should have tried to break into the industry. You know, I was 16, but it would have been perfect timing because they're letting anyone make a movie at that time.
Yeah,
Literally. So let's do the little Wikipedia definition, shall we? So, in Southport, Maryland, Susan Morrison, recently divorced from her husband Frank Morrison, a struggling boat builder, is marrying a younger and wealthier man, Rick Barnes. Danny, Susan and Frank's 12-year-old son, is clearly unhappy that his mother is remarrying. Susan asks Frank to allow Rick to go sailing with him and Danny to help Danny bond with and accept Rick as a stepfather. So yeah, that's the Wikipedia premise, brought to you by Wikipedia. Thanks for sponsoring us, Wikipedia.
So look for the check in the mail.
Yeah.
Or electronic Venmo account. Yes.
Yeah.
Please send that.
Cash App.
We're giving you good advertising. Nobody uses Wikipedia anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because nobody.
Only smart scholars.
Yeah. Only geniuses use Wikipedia, like me and Kris.
People that.
So the movie kicks in, and you can see there's like trying to set this ambiance of like a film noir. Like I feel like the director really thought he was trying to make a legit thriller. Like he thought he was making a Hitchcock movie. Like he thought he was making like The Fallen Idol or something like that. Like yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like, dude, this guy's like, come on, just give it, just he should have just made it for what it was. He was trying to be all high art. It's like, dude, you should have just had Journey on the soundtrack and just like, just some cheesiness.
For
He's
sure.
trying to have this nice score. Were you
Mark,
gonna say something?
yeah,
Yeah,
composer of Con Air, Tarzan 2, Speed, Bad Boys,
yeah,
and it had that Hitchcockian.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It was it was too loud and too
Yeah,
meant for that
it
movie.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't very subtle.
I liked it, but
No,
not,
I mean the
not with
music
all
was
the
okay, but
dialogue, not with the pictures and dialogue separately.
just
Different.
on its own.
Yes,
Maybe you can apply it to a different movie. Um, so yeah, Harold Becker is the director. Not really sure what else he's done. Maybe I wrote it down later. So we see like the scenery, and yeah, I guess it is Maryland. Um, the white area of Maryland. Like um, kind of country-ish.
yes.
Travolta works with boats, so he's like a boat builder and salesman. You're right.
Never use your cat tree as a place for your computer.
Yeah, I should have told you that a
It
long
gets
time ago.
wobbly too. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this in before one of the cats jumps on my laptop and I can't do shit. Anyways, so we see Travolta and he's rocking the longish hair a little bit. It's like a little bit like his hairdo from Swordfish, kind of left over.
Hmm.
And he's working on the boats, and his secretary criticizes him for selling a boat so cheap. So we can see that he's not rich. He's kind of struggling.
He loves his
Um,
craft.
yeah, he wasn't about the
Not
money.
about the money.
Yeah,
The
he's
money.
about the he's about the artistry of making boats.
He's a carpenter, much like Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that was the symbolism here. Travolta
Did symbolism.
is Jesus. Um, yeah, he first came to us in Saturday Night Fever, and he was resurrected in uh, this Domestic Disturbance. Because if you count,
I think it was his crucifixion, actually. But
it was 33 years from that to that. No, it wasn't. It was like it was like 20 years.
you,
That would have been good though.
I believed you.
Well, no, because Saturday Night Fever was like 77, and this was like 02, 01, or whatever. Yeah, it was 97 would have been 20 years. 01, that would have been like 23, 24 years.
Right.
I can see you're really struggling. So, anyways, his son Danny has a basketball game. So he leaves work to see his son play, and his son's playing basketball, and kind of sucks, but oh well. Travolta, he's just a simple kind of man. Frank is a simple kind of man, boat selling, truck driving man. And he's a salt of the earth kind of guy. And he parks his truck, and then all of a sudden you see this other truck pull up, this nicer, bigger truck, and we see Vince Vaughn is in that car, and you can see his face through the windshield. He kisses a woman in the passenger seat, and he like creepily waves at Travolta. He's like, yeah, yeah. Somehow he was creepier in this than he was in the Psycho remake. But probably not as creepy as in Wedding Crashers. That was probably his creepiest performance. Believe it or not. And so the woman who walks out is Frank's ex-wife, Terry, who played by Terry Polo. She walks out of the car, ponytail, skirt, boots. Yeah, I'm a big Terry Polo fan. Meet the parents, meet the fuckers. Little Fockers. Big Terry Polo fan. And also she has this cool ghost story from Celebrity Ghost Stories. It was like this cheesy show where they had like celebrities, quote unquote, saying their paranormal experiences or whatever. And she had actually a pretty cool one. So seeing her in this was the year after Meet the Parents, but she is way too young for Travolta in this, dude. She's hella young for Travolta. I mean, he's got at least 20 years on her. But they're trying to make it seem like they're contemporaries or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they're trying to make it like older men, younger women. It's like they're trying to make it seem like they're the same age, which is not true at all. He was like in Saturday Night Fever when she was born. Like yeah. And then Travolta asked her why Vaughn's ass isn't coming to watch the game, and she tells him that Danny doesn't want to see his ass there. and, they walk into the gym, and he sees the coach, and they ask him where's Danny, and he says he hasn't shown up. So, and then Frank gets a call that Danny is at the police station. So they go there, and the cop is really concerned about Danny running away because this is not the first incident. And Frank thinks it's because he's trying to get his parents back together or whatever. But they're both like, no, like that's not happening. And it's like I feel like they just had this scene in there just to set up the backstory. Like it doesn't feel as forced, believe it or not, as some other movies and shows that I've seen. But like, yeah, I feel like they're just trying to set up, like little things in the backstory to like make it make sense later on, in the story.
Right.
Like, did you ever see Blue Bloods or whatever? It's like some CBS cop show. It was horrible.
Mm.
Like in the very first scene of that, it was like, oh, like trying to get the new promotion. It's like, oh, well, you won't get that promotion because you have heart problems or whatever. Like they try to cram everything into like the first scene of the show, like to set up the whole thing. It was like, oh my god, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, like like every line is trying to give you some overt information. You know what I mean? It's like not subtle at all. And then the guy asks what they think made him run away, and Terry Polo says it's because she's getting remarried, and the cop's like, "Who's the lucky guy?" Like, and Travolta's like, "Rick Barnes." And he's like, "Oh, I know Rick." He's like, "Of course you do. Everybody does." Like, I don't like these names. They're the most generic ass names. Rick Barnes, Frank Morrison. These just sound like lame ass dudes.
Simple white,
like in it,
simple white names.
yeah. Like I mean, Ace Ventura had annoying ass last names, but these are just like so generic. And then like everyone, he's like, "What about Tommy and Johnny?" Like they're just like all the same freaking simple ass names. Then we see Travolta eating crab with Danny, crab cakes, which Maryland is known for that. They're known for their crab. You can't eat crab, right?
No, no.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
swallow.
allergic.
Won't be able to breathe.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm that. I think Travolta was like trying to sneak in food scenes in every movie he does. Like I feel like every movie at one point I see him like eating or he's like doing something. He's like always trying to hey, can we get a dinner scene in this movie? Like I feel like he's always trying to bring in food scenes. Um, and then the kid Danny, he annoys me. Just his face, like he just looks like he like stepped out of a Pixar movie or something. Like like he looks like he was created by John Lasseter, and he looks like a mix of like Andy and Sid from Toy Story, like in one kid. And his face just looks so like Rugrats. It's fucking annoying.
Doesn't fit the part. He doesn't look the troubled angst kid that's gonna do a lot of bad things.
Yeah, he was just
Doesn't look
too
like that kind of kid.
skinny and twerpy.
Yeah.
They should have had a kid who's like, has head totally shaved or has like a mullet or something.
Oh, yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, that would have been good. So he tells Terry that he told Danny to give Rick a break, and Terry tells him she asks Frank if he can take Rick out sailing with them, and he's like, "Take him sailing? The hell?" Yeah, he doesn't like the sound of that. And then we cut to him taking him sailing. um, but yeah, no, Frank. Before that, Frank goes to his humble abode with his new chick or whatever, who also looks pretty young, honestly. Um, and I didn't get it. It's like, is she his girlfriend or his wife? Like, it was kind of. I guess she's his girlfriend.
I like what is the purpose of this character?
Yeah, because it was like you never really saw them. They didn't seem together. You know what I mean? It was just really weird. Even though they're like living together, but they didn't seem like romantically together. It just seemed weird.
Living together.
Yeah,
Yeah, they probably cut that out though.
yeah. They're like, this is a little too disturbing.
What PG-13 rating?
Speaking of disturbance, this is too disturbing, and we gotta leave this out. And so he's pissed about the whole thing. He's frustrated. Frank doesn't want Danny hanging out with him and liking Rick more than him. He doesn't want him to replace him as his father. You know, and his new chick, is saying, "Oh, take him sailing. Like he seems like such a nice guy. Everybody loves him." And he's like, "Fucking bitch," like not helping my cause. Cut to they're sailing with Rick. And this almost looks like some lame, like Ralph Lauren ad, like with no hot chicks, just like them sitting on some lame boat. And Frank is like suspicious of Rick. He's like kind of sizing him up. He's like, trying to grill him a little bit because he's like, "Oh, there's so many beautiful places in the world. How'd you end up here?" And he says he invested in some pharmaceutical company or something. I guess he's a pharma bro, and but he assures Frank that he doesn't want to take his place as Danny's dad, and he asks him like, "Oh, how do you think I could win Danny over?" And he's like, "Well, he does need a new baseball glove." And then he's like, "Okay," and then cut to one of my favorite scenes in cinematic history,
Thought you
and
watched.
so yeah. Yeah, so and then Rick's trying to like get on Frank's good side, so he's like, "Hey, like maybe you can build some boats for me for this harbor that I bought," and he's like, "Okay," like he doesn't want to admit it, but he's like, "Yes, like I need the fucking money," but like he's like, "All right, well, I'll see, we'll see," he's trying to play a coy, where deep down he's like, "Yes, I need the," it's like, "Fuck yeah, I need the money," um, and but Rick is really just trying to get in his good graces. I don't think he needs any fucking boats built by him. He's just trying to like win him over,
Yeah.
and Danny doesn't want to go to the wedding because it would be weird, like and he's like, his dad's like, "What?" And he's like, "You have to go. Your mom will be pissed if you don't go." And he's like, "I don't want to go." Then he says, "Oh, okay, like if I go, then you go, and then we can make fun of Rick together." And he's like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." So they walk into the wedding, and I hate Frank's fucking girlfriend. She's an ungrateful biatch.
Mm.
Um, because like she's saying, "Oh, Terry really hit the jackpot with this guy," and like I could just imagine Travolta like side eyeing her, like, "What, really, bitch? Get the hell out of here."
Whore.
Um, yeah, and so in the middle of them like saying their vows, which they have a nice little outdoor wedding at the house, no need for a venue, just big house, nice big lawn. And then all of a sudden we see Buscemi pull up in a cab to the wedding, and he walks in and grabs a glass of champagne right when they're in the middle of saying their vows. Vince sees Buscemi, he like looks up in the background, and he looks behind Terry's head, and just the cheesy look he gives as he looks up, like like his acting here is horrible. Like
Mm.
she's giving the vows, and he's like, it's horrible. And then Buscemi's just like, "Ooh," with the champagne, and he kind of freaks out. Rick there, and we cut to they're shaking everyone's hands who came to the wedding and hugging everyone who came, and Vince is shocked to see him, and Frank asks him afterwards, like, who's your friend? I can tell you were shocked to see him, and he's like, oh, he's just a friend from school or something like that. He like tries blowing it off. But I guess Frank, he feels like he's suspicious. Like, I guess because he has these like perpetually stoned drunk eyes, like, and maybe that's why he thinks he's suspicious. So Frank walks over and like sizes him up too, and then Buscemi's like, oh, that girl must know some good tricks to be able to have Rick settle down. I'm sure she knows a lot of nice tricks. You would think Frank would be like, that's my ex-wife, you dumbass. But like, yeah, he tells him like, oh, actually, that's my ex-wife. And he's like, oh, Susan? Like that. I guess that's her name in the movie. She looks like a Susan. That's like the perfect name for her. Just white, Laura Linney-ish woman, But those two girls, they're part of my milquetoast white woman trinity, which includes Terry Polo, Laura Linney, and Hope Davis. This is like the holy trinity of milquetoast white women. Not just white men and women in general, but milquetoast white women. Milquetoast white American women. That's the trinity. He says he's from the Bay Area, and Frank is surprised he came all the way out there just for the wedding, but then he tells him he had business in D.C. You think he's a Warriors fan and he just wanted to see them play the Wizards or something out there? It was
No.
pre-Curry, so no. He tells Frank that he's known Rick for a long time. They went to school together, but then Frank was like, oh, I thought you were a business associate of his or something like that. Buscemi's like, okay, Frank, bye. He just like walks away. He just like runs off. He does like the Homer Simpson into the bushes. Yeah. He's like, okay, see ya. And so Buscemi plays Ray. And Buscemi and Ray and Rick are alone, and Ray is like, why didn't you invite me? So I could have got you stuff at like Crate and Barrel or something. Nice little Crate and Barrel reference. So yeah, so the next scene is one of my favorite parts. The infamous baseball catch scene. so we see Danny and Rick playing catch outside on the lawn, and Susan, Terry Polo, is like, oh, like, I'm gonna go somewhere, like, you guys have fun playing or whatever. And he's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, fuck, I gotta play with this fucking kid. And Danny does not throw very well. He's like a mix of Rick Ankiel and Chuck Knobloch, like, with maybe a little Tatis thrown in. He's, like, Tatis has been known to mutilate some cameramen with his throws in the crowd. Trying to get to first base, and he's, decapitating people. And so Danny does a crappy throw, and he tells Rick like, "Oh, you should have had that." And I mean, Rick isn't exactly Don Mattingly. I don't think he should have had that. Rick is getting pissed off. He's like, "What the fuck?" And Danny does another high throw, and he tells Rick that he should have had that, and he's like, should have had that, like, and then he's like, my dad would have got that. He's like, who's your dad, Shaquille O'Neal? And he's like, oh, my dad was captain of his baseball team. He's good at all sports. He's like, oh, you know what? Your dad's working for me now, so he's gonna build me some boats. Did he tell you that? And he's like, no, he didn't. Danny does another throw. It was a horrible throw. Vaughn is like, if your dad was such a good baseball player, why didn't he teach you how to throw a baseball? So you need to point your feet at someone when you throw it to him. And he's like, come on. He's like, point your feet at me. He's like, turn the ball loose. He's like, you throw like shit. Ah! So hilarious. And then Danny doesn't want to play anymore. So Vince throws his glove at him, and he walks into the house. And he's like, fine. He's like, just fuck off. And Vince goes into the house, and then the ball like flies through and breaks the window. He's like, oh shit, oh my god, like. All of a sudden, Danny turns into Pedro Martinez. He can throw with like such accuracy, and but it's like then it just cuts. It's like, wouldn't you like? Shouldn't we see their conversation after that? Shouldn't we see like Vince Vaughn being like, "Wait, what the fuck? Why the fuck are you breaking windows, asshole? I'm gonna, I'm gonna kick your ass, and your mom's gonna be pissed off at me. But it'll be worth it because I get to kick your ass." Then we see Danny with Frank, his dad, Travolta, and he's showing him how to lacquer boats. Did your dad ever teach you how to lacquer a boat, Kris?
Can't say that he did. No. Did a lot of things, but never a boat.
I'm sure he did. He then asks him about the window. He's like, "Oh, what's up with that window breaking?" And he tells him that Rick tried to hurt him with the ball, but Frank doesn't believe it. And then Danny asks him like, "Oh, why do you have to work for him? Like, you tell him you don't need his money." And he tells him, "Well, honestly, I do need the money. Most people don't buy these shitty old boats anymore. Nobody wants this wood piece of shit. This is just a passion project, but it's dying out. Um, and he's like, okay, well, I guess my dad's poor then. That's why he has to work for him. Um, and then Frank goes into town and he bumps into Buscemi's ass at some cafe or something, and he's surprised he's still in town. And he says he's decided to stay for a while, get a little R&R, as they say in the States. That line, that as they say in the States, it's was in this Irish movie called Intermission. Did you ever see that? It was a good movie.
Yeah, I think I did.
Intermission. Colin Farrell is in it. He has a small part in it. Cillian Murphy. It was like all these Irish actors. Cole Meany, who's from Con Air. But it's like a bunch of kind of like interconnected storylines, like a bunch of shorts in this one town, and they all kind of connect. It's a pretty cool movie. But it's funny because there's like the boss in the movie. He's like the boss of the office, and he always says something like, as they say in the States. He says like some guy says, "Oh, like, are you lying?" And he's like, "I shit you're not," as they say in the States. And he says something else. I forgot what he says. And he's like, "As they say in the States." And then at the end of the movie, he's like, "Oh, you're going on vacation?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a little R&R, as they say in the States." That movie's tight. Intermission. You should peep it. I'm sure it's on like Tubi or something. Maybe we can talk about it sometime. Yeah. So he says he was there for some R&R, and he says he really likes the town. He's thinking of looking at some real estate. And he says, "You're kidding." And he's like, "I kid you not." Or whatever. I think that whole thing was improvised. It wasn't improvised very well either. It was pretty shitty dialogue. It was like, where the hell is this dialogue going to? Like, it's like, "You're kidding. I kid you not." And then Frank tells him about his realtor friend, Sam Jones. That's another generic fucking name. Sam Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Such a cookie cutter fucking name. Can't throw in anything different. And then Buscemi says, "You know what?" He's like, "I haven't seen any adult bookstores in town." and Travolta's just like, "You're kidding." And he's like, "I kid you not." And just cuts right there. And it's like, what the fuck? The hell was that about? You would notice that there's a lack of adult bookstores, though, right?
Of course. Yes. That's what I book all my vacations based on, is proximity to an adult bookstore. Yes.
Is it really the books he's looking for, or the movie? I think he probably wants the movie.
Just
The big ass box VHS. Yeah.
the laser
It's like,
disc.
"I'll take this backwoods bitches." Yeah, why did they have them in such big ass boxes? Just to embarrass you as you tried to buy it?
Exactly. Yes.
In the little curtain section of your little blockbuster, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah. So Rick walks by, and he bumps into some older professional guy, and they talk a little bit, and then Rick notices Buscemi and Travolta talking in the cafe, and he's like, "Oh shit! Like what the fuck?" And he's kind of freaking out. So then we see Vince driving out, and he goes to the Shady Tree Motel to talk to Buscemi.
Nice touch.
Shady Tree. Nice name. I think it was a bit of foreshadowing, because he's shady and he likes to smoke trees. So Shady Tree Motel. And then the clerk, when they go into the Shady Tree Motel, is the dad from Donnie Darko. So he's funny. And then Frank the Bunny, Frank Morrison. And they came out the same year, actually. They both came out in 01. Actually, like, Donnie Darko came out like a month before this. Because it came out not long after 9/11. So, it's kind of funny. And he was in two. He was like kind of hot at the time. He was like a kind of a hot character actor. And then after that, nobody wanted to work with his ass ever again. I think I saw him in some commercials, but he didn't have that long of a run. So Vaughn asks Buscemi, like, why are you in town talking to Frank? And Buscemi's like, why'd she leave him? He's great. Like, he's like, now she's with your dumbass? Fuck. And then Buscemi alludes that they used to be in prison together with two other guys who he owes money to, supposedly. And he's like, you want to know how I found you? He's like, I remember one time when you were drunk, you told us about your horrible childhood, except for one summer you spent on the Maryland coast. He's like, and then I saw your name was making the papers in the area. That's how I found your ass. And Rick says, you know what I like most about not working outside of the law? I don't associate with scumbags. And he tells Buscemi that he'll call him when he has his money. And Buscemi's like, quit stalling, and then he goes back home, and Terry, Susan, tells him that she's pregnant. And the look on his face is like, great. He kind of had this look of Scott Peterson. Didn't seem very happy about it. But then Susan's worried about Danny's reaction. Because she's like, dude, if he's pissed off we're getting married, he's going to be even more pissed off that got knocked up. And then, lo and behold, he's right behind her. And then he runs to his room and he calls his dad's house, but his girlfriend answers, his stupid ass girlfriend, and it's like, why didn't he just call a cell phone? You know what I mean? Like, we saw he had one earlier because he called him, like, he got a call from the cop or whatever. Why didn't he just call his damn cell phone? I mean, that would have been easy. I used to have to page my dad when I needed some shit from him, and then I had to wait at the payphone, and who knows who the hell would have called back. Could have been Bubbles the Clown trying to get some shit. We see Vaughn call Buscemi again, and he tells him to be ready at this time because he has the money, and Buscemi is in the hotel room with some whore smoking. Similar to how he had a whore in the hotel room in Fargo, too. I think art imitates life. He partakes in the services of a lot of whores, apparently.
Travolta has the food in his contract. He has the horrors in his contract. You gotta please the actors if you want them to work with you.
Yeah. And it's like one or the other. It's like, we're not making two trips. No horrors and food. It's just one or the other.
Scene in the restaurant. Scene in the restaurant. Scene in the restaurant. I don't know what I'm saying. Scene in the restaurant. Scene in the hotel. Which would you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta make a mind.
And Travolta's like, restaurant.
Better be fucking good, too, because I'm not gonna get a lot of shit for this.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a fucking horrible movie, too, so.
Best fried chicken and waffles I've ever had, please.
Yeah. But coming right up. I think they have like Bojangles over there or whatever. It's called like Bojangles. It's like a Popeyes-ish type of thing. Supposedly it's good.
Maryland?
Yeah, like in that area, like in southeast kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's trying to call his dad's house, but his girlfriend answers. Yeah. Uh, Vaughn tells Buscemi to be ready. He has the money. Buscemi's with the horror smoking. Um, and he turns on the basketball game. See, he does like basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like he's watching like Bulls Jazz or something. But this is post Jordan, so it couldn't have been that finals Bulls Jazz. It was just some random ass game, Bulls and Jazz. And or as you like to call
Hinting
him,
where
the
he's going, I
ass.
think. It's like a subtle hint.
Yeah. And he tells them he has to go into town and he'll be back. Rick, that is. And then Danny decides to like sneak out of his window, you know, because we set up in the beginning that he likes to sneak out and go places and stuff, and likes to just leave whenever he wants. So this set it up for this thing, this situation. So he sneaks out of his window, climbs out down the house, and he sneaks into the back of Vince Vaughn's truck. And it's raining like hell. It's raining cats and dogs, and Vaughn picks up Buscemi at the Shady Tree Motel. Slim Shady. And you know, he's gonna give him his money, and Ray tells Vaughn like, I'm going to Miami. Now he wants to watch the Heat play. You know, he wanted to see Jimmy buckets. Well, at that time, yeah, I guess like Alonzo Mourning at that time. You know, that was a couple years before Dwayne Wade came in. You know, so and then Vaughn tells him, Miami has no appeal to me. You know, which kind of surprises me. He seems like a Miami guy. You know, so it's kind of weird that he doesn't like that. And then, you know, he tells him he's going to have a kid. And Buscemi is like, wow, 2 kids? And he's like, you're taking this Leave It to Beaver thing really seriously, you know? And then he's quick to say, he's like, oh, Danny isn't mine. He's like, quick to say that. He's like, no, that kid ain't fucking mine.
Fucking throw a baseball.
Yeah. He didn't get that shit from me. And he's like, I put up with the damn kid because I have to. And then Danny's like in the back seat, like, I'm right here, asshole. You know, like, can hear everything you're saying. And Rick tells Ray that he has to stop to get some more cash, and because he can't see, I guess it's raining too damn hard. But he tells Buscemi to look in the back to look for something or whatever, and he checks the back, and he just starts smiling, and he sees Danny, but he's about to tell Vaughn, and he's like, "You're not gonna believe me." He doesn't just spit it out, damn it. He doesn't just say, like if you saw someone, wouldn't you be scared? And you'd be like, what the fuck, you know? Yeah, there's a fucking kid back here. But then he's like, you're not gonna believe this shit. And then Vaughn just stabs him in the back with his big ass knife.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Would he die? Would he really die on the impact of that knife? You know, I don't think so. Yeah,
Maybe hit a artery or something.
hit a nerve. Yeah,
Right through to his heart. I don't know, because
I got.
Buscemi's just
Yeah,
a big guy.
yeah. I mean, that's true. It is. It would be like stabbing a piece of chicken, I guess. You know. But yeah, I felt like it seemed a little unrealistic. But that was a kind of a big knife, so maybe. And he is a pretty skinny dude. Um, but he just dies on impact of the knife. He just like right when it goes in, like 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 horrible act. Like you would have thought he would have rattled around for a minute or two. You know, he just dies right there. Yeah, he just like like he loses all life right when the knife goes in.
Paralyzed.
Like
A spinal column.
yeah, I guess so. I guess like yeah, apparently so. Yeah, and so Danny sees all this. He sees Steve Buscemi die in front of him, on top of him, you know? And he's scared shitless. But he stays hidden in the backseat. So Vaughn has no idea because he didn't hear what the hell, stupid ass Ray couldn't spit out his shit, So he has no idea that Danny's back there. And then Rick drives off somewhere else, and he takes the body to this like incinerator, and Danny sees Rick throw Buscemi there in a body bag, And Danny's like, oh shit. And he gets out of the car to like confirm that that's what he's seeing or whatever. And yeah. And then Rick goes back to the truck and he sees like the truck or like the back door open of the truck. And he's like, that's weird. Like, why's that open? Or whatever. Like, did I leave that open? Like, and Danny hides behind the truck. Like, when Rick walks away, he runs out. He runs out possibly to his dad's. And then Rick drives up back to the house and he sees cop cars and Terry Polo is talking to a cop and she looks concerned. And Vaughn wants to shit his pants at that moment. He's like, "Whoa, shit!" He's like, "They caught my ass already? Shit, that was fast." So he comes up and he's like, "What's going on?" And Terry says, "Danny ran away." He's like, "Oh, thank God!" Like he's like, "Jeez, thought that was about me." But the cop says he's with Travolta, so Rick says, "Let's just pick him up or whatever." And then the cop's like, not so fast." So Danny says that he saw you kill a man. He was hiding in the back of your truck. And Vaughn like tries to laugh it off, like really, and they take Danny and Terry in for questioning, asking why he's making this shit up, and Terry thinks it's because she's pregnant now. And they tell Danny and them that there was no visible evidence of Rick doing this. And so Danny wants to go home with his dad, but Terry wants him to go home with him, and then Travolta tells Danny to go home. Like he's like, "You don't believe me either." He's like, "No, like, get the hell out of here." And then Danny can't sleep at home, so he has this aluminum baseball bat as protection, which is a classic.
Why does he get home with him like so calmly? He's not gonna scream and yell. He's not gonna
Yeah, exactly.
wait. I'm not gonna go with him after that. He just goes with him back
Yeah,
to the house.
he's like, "All right, I'll go with the killer guy." you know.
Okay, Dad. I'll do what you want.
Once again, horrible acting.
Yeah, horrible.
And then we see Vaughn. He kind of creeps up behind him, and he's trying to tell Danny like that was all a dream. Like you didn't see that. um,
Great jump scare.
yeah, exactly. And Frank is looking out on his pier, and he has a bad feeling about the whole thing. And then Rick goes to his workshop the next day, and he says he won't take the situation personally, but he will give him a $50,000 check to start making boats for him. And he tells him like, "Oh, I couldn't sleep last night because I was thinking that my son lives with a guy that I don't know anything about." He's like, "You don't know me, but you know Danny." That's what Rick retorts. He's like, and Frank's like, "Yeah, he lies. He lies. He lies to his mom, lies to his grandma, teachers, cops, the church." And then like Vaughn's like, "Yes, like," but then he's like, "But he doesn't lie to me." Like that's Frank's final like line. And then Rick can't believe like he's falling for Danny's story. Like he can't believe he's believing him. And then he's like, "So who's this guy Ray? Like first he's your school chum, and then he's your business associate. Like what the hell?" Um, so basically, Rick walks away and tells him he's like, "Oh, give your girlfriend my best," or whatever. like he has a good relationship with the girlfriend apparently, and we cut to Frank arguing with Terry at the school, and she doesn't believe him, and I hate that. I mean, I hate it, but I love it. Like, I love when nobody believes the main character. Like, only at the very end do they see the light. And he takes Danny to stay with him because Danny's scared. But then Terry calls the police to arrest Frank, saying he's trying to take custody of Danny by force. And so that same sergeant questions Frank, the same guy at the beginning. And that's the thing. Not even his chick believes him. Like, she can't believe Frank. So she, like, basically breaks up with his ass because she thinks Rick is a good guy. And she thinks Frank is trying to use her to get custody of Danny back. Like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, you're smoking crack.
Get to stepping, bitch. Get to stepping.
Yeah. Kick
Ungrateful.
rocks. Yeah. You're a whore, and you deserve to go with Buscemi, wherever he's at now. Yeah, she was horrible. Hated her.
Unnecessary and pointless character.
Yeah.
Just aggravating to watch.
And it's funny because Vaughn is like, oh, like if we lose custody of Danny, that's okay. Like, you know, like he's like, I don't mind that. He's like happy to see him go. He's like, you don't want to stress yourself out. The doctor said it's bad for the baby, and then she's like, I don't give a damn what the doctor says. And he's like, fuck. So he thought he could just like get rid of Danny and everything would be gravy, but she's like, no, I want Danny back. So he's like, fuck. So Vaughn corners Danny in his room, and he's like, if we come back home without you, your mom's gonna be real upset. He's like, how would you feel if something happened to your dad, huh, Danny? Huh? He's like, that'd be sad, huh? And like these low angles, like they're really trying to make it very Hitchcockian, you know, like you know, the low camera angle looking up at Vaughn, you know, like with a little bit of the stepfather thrown in, sprinkled in. Stepfather directed by Hitchcock, you know. But not as good, obviously. So they go to the custody trial, and Danny's on the stand, and he lies basically so that he can keep his mom happy and stay with her and Rick, basically, you know. But you know, that's not the truth, but he just says that, you know, just to not make any waves. And Frank goes drinking with his secretary, and you know, she tells him that's how he lost Danny the first time, like him on the sauce, you know. That's how he lost him. And Rick is at some fundraiser, and they're leaving, and then Frank shows up, like all blitzed, and he's like, I want to talk to my son. He's like, at 10 o'clock at night. And he's like, yeah, so? And Travolta gets pissed off, and some guy is defending Rick, and Travolta's like, fuck you. Just hanging out with him for his money. You didn't even know who he was 10 minutes ago. Hilarious.
Yeah.
And Danny tells him, he's like, just go home, Dad. Just go home. And he's like, what? He's like, just go home. And he's like, fine. But it's really just a decoy, because Travolta goes to the car, and then Danny goes up to him and gives him his wallet so that he knows where the incinerator is, to
Okay.
where to find that. Yeah, nice. Then we see Danny brushing his teeth, and then the camera pans, and Vince Vaughn's right behind him. And he's like, can I borrow $5? And he's like, where's your wallet? And he's like, oh, like I lost it. And he's like, you're a little fucking liar, aren't you, Danny? He tells him. Frank goes snooping around. He goes to the incinerator. He goes to the Shady Tree Motel, and he talks to the Donnie Darko dad guy, and he's like, oh, can we check the phone calls? And he's like, oh, like he's looking up Ray's phone calls. And then he's like, oh, like he called this place a lot. And then the Donnie Darko dad's like, yep. It's like he loved the ladies. He really liked the ladies. Horror theory. Okay. um, so then Frank knocks on that whore's house. Actually, he goes to that whore, knocks on her door, and says, give me more. So then he asks her if she knows Ray, and she said he owes her money.
Mm.
And we cut to him inside. She like made him some coffee or some tea or something. They're drinking at the table, and he's like, well, what'd you guys talk about? And she's like, well, we didn't talk much, you know. he's just like screwing and watching basketball. And it's like, don't we all? Don't we all just like screwing and watching basketball?
It was at the same time, you know. It's great.
Screwing while watching basketball. It's like, oh, and he goes to the hole. It's like, oh, also a slam dunk. And it counts. Yes. With authority.
Flagrant.
And one. Yeah. So she says he just like screwing and watching basketball. And she shows him the lighter, and he sees if she recognizes it. So he buys it off her for $25. And he takes it to the sergeant to run fingerprints. So then the sergeant sees him the next day, and he says, "The only fingerprints are of that whore that are on this." He's like, "Fuck."
A lot of fingerprints, a lot of different fingerprints. The only one we can make out was the horrors, though.
Yeah. So again, some fluids on here too. Not lighter fluids.
DNA and hair.
Yeah. So and then Rick sees him outside the police station, and he's like, "Oh, we were both a little hot. Let's forget about that argument they had outside of Chili's or whatever the hell they were, you know." And then Frank, he like shows him the lighter. He's like, "Oh, you recognize this, huh?" And then Vaughn like kind of starts freaking out, and he's like, "If you touch his hair on my son's head, I swear that's the last thing you'll ever do." And Vaughn is starting to get pissed, and he backtracks now, and he goes to the Shady Tree Motel, and he talks to Donnie Darko's dad doing Domestic Disturbance. And I mean, I guess we can assume that he took him to the incinerator too, maybe. And we see Frank looking at pictures of Danny, and he sees one where he's wearing this basketball jersey, and that like clicks in his head. He's like, basketball. Wait, like basketball. Okay, like this is like, yeah, you know, like they're trying to make this like Usual Suspects or something. Like, you know, like this is my light bulb moment. So he goes like in a rush, drives back to the horse house, and he like bangs the door, and she's like, "What the fuck do you want?" And he's like, "What team did he root for?" And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "What team did he root for?" He said he liked to screw and watch basketball. What team did he root for? And she's like, and then I guess she tells him Bulls, Chicago Bulls. So he searches on Google. He's like, Chicago, Ray Coleman. He's typing horribly, and he has a few hits. There's a few hits on Google, and it was even pre-Google. I think it was like Ask Jeeves or some shit like that. And he sees an article. It says 3 convictions in racketeering case, but this 4th guy got away with it or whatever. And he clicks the link, and it's funny that the crappy internet of the time makes this suspenseful. You know what I mean? Like, the internet was so slow that this is a suspenseful scene.
The moment.
The
big reveal.
Yeah, that would never be suspenseful now. You would just click and you would see, like, okay, great. But he clicks it, and then you see it all blurry, the picture, and then it just, like, slowly, 3 seconds later, gets, like, more in focus, and then we see, clear as day, Vince Vaughn's face. And then when Frank sees that, he's like, "Oh my god. Oh god." He's like, "Oh no, God." He sees that.
Still no proof that he's a murderer, though.
Yeah. No.
It's got
No.
nothing to do with what's going on with
Yeah.
his boy. But anyway.
Yeah. I guess he just, I don't know, he's disappointed that...
He's a bad man.
Yeah, he's, you know, connected with some shit, you know?
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, but just the crappy internet loading, you know, and blurry, then ding! He's like, "Oh god, no. No god." Like,
everybody's sitting on the edge of their seats in the theater.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
You can thank the crappy internet at the time for this suspense, people.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, yeah, but then I guess he sees his real name is Jack Parnell. Another Another cookie cutter ass name. I feel like they just got these names from like a golfing index from the 50s. They're like, okay, let's get some golf player names for this. you know,
Those yellow jacket guys or whatever that win the.
yeah, the Masters. They got all the winners of the Masters tournament in the 50s. They were like, okay, Jack Parnell for putt for birdie. you know, Ray Coleman for eagle. Yeah. So, and Travolta, he's so bummed out. Um, and so he calls Detective Stevens, but he's not there. And he sends an email to the detective with his like big ass Comp USA computer, this big ass boxy computer. Sends an email. I'm surprised how much technology is in this. Jeez. Um, yeah, really. This makes hackers look like Andy Griffith show.
Nice
Yeah.
hack.
So Frank walks back to his desk and he's hit from behind. He just walks back and sounds like, "Doom!" and then just he's passed out and just horrible acting. He's like, ugh. And we see it's Vince Vaughn who hit him, and he's unconscious on the ground. And Rick starts to put lighter fluid all over the place. Um,
He's unhinged.
and and he takes that lighter and he accidentally lights his arm on fire. He's like, oh shit, his arm's on fire. Like an idiot, and he has to take off his jacket, and he's like, okay, let me take this off, and he ends up burning everything fucking down. He was still able to accomplish, I guess, what he wanted to, but he almost burned off his arm in the process. He's like, oh fuck. He's like, I love that jacket, damn it.
Like that's not gonna be suspicious at all. Burning down the boathouse.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not gonna arise any suspicion.
yeah, exactly. And then Travolta's lying there unconscious as his shit is burning down. And it's funny because this almost reminds me of the last sequence of Ninja Scroll when they're on this burning boat, and you know Travolta has this samurai hairstyle, and then Smoke like wakes his ass up. He like can smell the smoke. He's breathing smoke. And he's like, oh shit! And he manages to escape, and he jumps into the lake. And Rick goes back home in his truck, and Danny's watching the news with his mom, and he can see that Frank's workshop is burning down. His dad's workshop is burning, and he's trying to call his dad, but he's not answering, and he's trying to tell his mom that Rick did this, but she's kind of like, no, he didn't, and Terry sees Vaughn in the bathroom, and he has like burns and scars on him, and she's like, okay, now I see, now she finally gets it. And also Vaughn is not being very subtle. They're like, dude, close the fucking door. You can't close the door while you do this. You know what I mean? Just want to be on display with all your burns and shit and cuts. Um, so she goes to Danny's room and she tells him, okay, we need to get out of here. Um, and they try to like pack up quickly, and then Vaughn sees them leaving and like, oh, where are you guys going? And she tells him, oh, there was a fire at Frank's place, and yeah, we gotta go. And but he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then Frank calls the house, but Rick answers. And so when he hears his voice, he hangs up. And but then Rick can see the caller ID. He's like, fuck. He's like, Frank Morrison, he's fucking still alive, asshole. So Vaughn catches them in the car in the garage, about to leave, and she's talking on her Nokia to Frank, and he's telling them to leave, and she says, I know, but then Vaughn stops them, and he says he could drive Danny, so she gets out of the car, but then Vaughn gets in the car, but she slams the door on his leg. He's like, fuck! Ah! And they run back into the house, but Rick cuts the phone lines, he's like 2 steps ahead of him. And then he jumps through the glass door and scares them, just for no reason. He's just like,
Batman style.
yeah. He just jumps through, tackles them.
Gets out of that unscathed.
Yeah.
Not a cut
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. I just had 5,000 pounds of glass shatter on me, but um, yeah. So he sees they're trying to hide from him now, and he sees some feet behind the door, and he's like, "I got your ass!" And he opens it, and there's just some shoes there. He's like, "Fuck!" And then Danny comes from behind and hits him with the aluminum bat. He's like, "Ah, fucker!" Classic mode of security, by the way. You always gotta have an aluminum bat around.
I felt like it was turning into a Warner Brothers episode. Who's the bat?
Like Animaniacs or whatever.
Jerry, something.
Yeah. There's a lot of props. Um, so then Danny goes to the garage, but then Vaughn comes behind him all bloody, and he like bitch slaps Danny. He's like, yeah.
I
And he
want
ties him up.
in the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You almost got your father killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Report him.
Yeah.
Stay with your father. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. So he ties him up with a cord.
Yes.
And he throws him in the car. And then Frank bursts in and jumps on Vaughn, and he punches him a few times. It's a real slobber knocker, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Frank hits him with a fucking shovel. He's like, and then Vaughn pushes him through the car window, and he sees Danny there. He's like, "Oh shit, Danny, you're there." Then Vaughn picks up a fucking crowbar, and he's trying to hit Frank. He's using like a bar stool to like defend himself. He's like, "Oh,
Cool.
yeah." There's a lot of fucking props.
He's gonna break through the bar stool with his crowbar.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot of props in this scene.
It wasn't well thought out.
No.
No
And then,
no choreography here. No, none of that.
yeah, no, not at all. This is a far cry from Jackie Chan and Rush Hour. So then Danny climbs out of the car and bumps into Vaughn, who trips, and he strikes the electrical box with the crowbar, and he's like, and then he dies. And you can see the smoke come off him. And then just the weird look on Travolta's face when he sees him. He's like, what was that?
Yeah.
And then Terry needs to go to the hospital because I guess she lost the baby. I guess that's what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess she didn't want his baby at the end of the day, maybe, So it was like, okay, I don't need that anymore. Now that this guy is an asshole,
Sequel. Could have been a sequel.
DD2, Judgment Day.
He'd be about our age. Well, he'd be about your age, maybe. At this time.
Yeah. Yeah, he would.
20-something.
And then now everybody wants to kiss Frank's ass. Like, sorry, Frank. Sorry. Sorry, we didn't believe you. He's like, don't apologize to me. Apologize to Danny, asshole. He's been telling you this whole fucking time. Didn't want to believe his ass.
Yep.
And then they drive off in his truck behind the ambulance. And they ride off into the sunset. End film. Thank you.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Did you, you found some good research, right?
Research?
Didn't you? You were telling me some shit.
I mean, there was that little factoid about the bar fight in North Carolina, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, that happened during this.
He got stabbed several times, and
Yeah.
got thrown in jail.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing about that at the time. It was like, like in early 01 or 2000. It was, I was watching E News or something, or Extra or some shit, and they're like, oh, in other news, Vince Vaughn was arrested in North Carolina today for a bar fight with Steve Buscemi. It's like, what the fuck? And then you can Google his mugshot. It's great. I love his mugshot. Because he's just like, what? Like the watery ass eyes. The I've been up all night look. The shirt is like fucked up. It's like slightly ripped. Or great mugshot. Yeah. One of the best mugshots I've ever seen. But yeah, that was Domestic Disturbing Behavior. Any last words, Kris?
Uh, it's entertaining. It's definitely entertaining, and you're definitely gonna laugh a lot. I don't know. Yeah. So I'd say give it a peep.
Yeah.
If,
Get your best buds together.
yeah,
Get some pizza.
it's
Get some beer.
not a
A
chick
lot of
flick.
beer.
It's
A lot of beer. and and
it's
watch Domestic Disturbance.
it's not a chick flick. It's a film for guys.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And watch it on Roku right now.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
free.
Nice.
Free for a month. All right, Kris.
Good channel.
Thanks for joining me tonight.
Sir.
It's a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thanks for listening to Briterion Bollection. Guilty Pleasures. We'll see you next time. Peace out. Later.
Later.